Hi everyone and welcome to SOLIDWORKS Model Mania made in Fusion 360. Today, we are going to take up the challenge of Model Mania year 2011. Let's get started by inspecting the 2D drawing. Notice the model is symmetrical at this center. Let's start sketching out the top and bottom view. Heading to Fusion 360, let's enter sketch mode. And to do that quickly, I can hit C for circle. And we are now prompted to select a plane or planar face. Let's sketch on our XY plane. I'm going to place our first point or center point here. Left click, create another circle at the right. Hitting escape. Notice our origin is in between these two circles. Next, I'm going to have these two circles equal with each other. So with both of them selected, I'm going to right click and select equal. Next, I'm going to hit D for dimension, and I'm going to dimension the left circle, the diameter to be 4t, hitting enter. Let me zoom in. Next, I'm going to hit L for line and create a line here at the middle, hitting escape. Next, I'm going to select this line, hold Control to select our origin, right click and select midpoint, hitting escape. This line will serve as our symmetry line. In addition, I'm going to reselect this line and turn this into a construction line by hitting X, the shortcut for construction. Moving forward, let's add the arc connecting these two circles. And instead of heading up to create, I'm going to hit S to bring in our shortcuts, typing ARC, and I'm going to select 3-point arc. Let's drop our first point at this intersection. Heading to our right circle. Notice the intersection. Left click. Next, I'm going to hold shift or move down until I am seeing the inferred tangent constraint. Left click. Let's repeat the procedure. Left click here. Left click at this intersection, move up, notice the inferred tangent constraint, and left click. Hitting escape. Let's apply tangent constraint between this circle and this arc. Let's head up to constraints and select tangent, selecting this arc and this circle, this arc and this circle. Hitting escape. Let's have these two circles symmetrical with this line. I'm going to select its center point, hold Control, selecting this center point, holding Control, and selecting this symmetry line. Next, I'm going to right click and select symmetry. Once more, the technique for using symmetry constraint is selecting the target symmetry objects and lastly selecting the symmetry line. Hitting escape. Next, I want this arc and this arc equal with each other. Heading up, selecting equal constraint, selecting this arc and this arc. Hitting escape. Next, let's add dimensions. Hitting D for dimension, selecting this center point and at this center point, move down. Let's place our dimension here, key in 60. And notice these two center points should be aligned horizontally. I'm going to hit escape and instead I'm going to hit undo right before the 60 dimension was created. I'm going to head up, selecting horizontal or vertical. Select this center point and this center point. Hitting escape. Let's reapply the dimension, which is 60. Selecting these two center points, keying in 60. Hitting escape. Let's inspect. So notice we need to have this center point aligned horizontally with our origin. Selecting horizontal vertical constraint, selecting our origin and this center point. Hitting escape, and finally I'm going to hit D once more for dimension, and let's dimension this arc to be 40. Hitting enter and hitting escape, it turned into black, meaning this sketch is now fully defined. Let's now select finish sketch. Let's extrude this profiles. I'm going to hit E for extrude, zoom out, and create a window selection to select all of these profiles. Let me pull this arrow up. And for the distance, I'm going to key in 30. Operation U body and selecting OK. So notice my model has a different color. It is because at the bottom right, component color swatch is currently turned on. And to return to its original color, all we need to do is press Shift and N, letter N. Let's now sketch out the side view. I'm going to hit C for circle, and let's select our XZ plane. Let me zoom in, create a circle here, the diameter to be 26. Next, I would like this circle tangent with this edge. And to do that, let's head up to constraints, selecting tangent, selecting this circle and this edge. Hitting escape. Let's now align the center point of the circle with our origin vertically, selecting horizontal of vertical constraint, selecting the center point and our origin. Hitting escape. Let's replicate what it is in the drawing, which has a reference dimension. So I'm going to hit D for dimension, selecting this edge and our center point, place our reference dimension here. So simply select OK. Let's now select a finish sketch. I'm going to hit E for extrude. And for the measurement, let me change this to whole length because I prefer the whole length to be 40. Notice the operation is currently a cut operation. In addition, we need to prepare for the shell command, which will be applied to our first body. So instead of cut, I'm going to change the operation to be new body. Selecting OK. Let's now apply fillets on these edges. So I'm going to hit F for fillet and select this edge. Notice it selected the whole chain because tangent chain is enabled. For the radius, it will be 6. I'm going to leave the defaults and selecting OK. Let's now apply the shell feature. I'm going to hit S for our shortcuts, typing S, H, and selecting shell. But first, let me turn off the visibility of our body 2 for you to see. For the faces or body, I'm going to select this face to exclude this. And for the inside thickness, I'm going to key in 3. Let's inspect and selecting OK. Let's now turn on the visibility of a body 2. And this time, I'm going to cut body 2 using a body 1. Let's now head up to Modify and select Combine, or hit S for shortcuts, typing CO, selecting Combine. For the target body, it will be Body 2. For the tool bodies, it will be Body 1. In addition, I'm going to enable Keep Tools. And for the operation, it will be Cut. Selecting OK. Notice it produced 4 bodies. And our target this time is we're going to remove this body inside. Once more, selecting this body, right click and selecting remove. The advantage of a remove is we can summon that removed body by simply suppressing this feature. Next, let's now apply the fillets, hitting F and selecting this edges, radius to be 3, leaving the defaults, selecting OK. Moving forward, let's now apply the holes. Let's start off creating the hole on this face. The shortcut for hole is pressing H. Prompted to select a placement. We're going to select at a point. Next, I'm going to select this face. Let me head over to front view. And notice as I grab this blue dot, I'm seeing a white dot, which denotes the center point of this cylindrical face. I'm going to move over our blue dot and snap this to this white dot. Let's head over to Extents and select 2 because we want this hole to be up to this face. And for its diameter, let's scroll down and change this one to 16. For the hole type, it will be a simple. Hole tap type to be simple, and the drill point, feel free to have this at an angle or simply flat. Selecting OK. And finally, let's apply the hole on this face, hitting H, activating placement at point. Let's head over to top view, selecting this face, left click here. Let me move our blue dot and snap this to this white one. Let's scroll down and change the diameter to be 22. Once more, hole type to be simple, hole tap type, simple. Let's have the drill point to be flat or at an angle. Selecting at angle. And for the distance, let's have this to all. Selecting OK. And let's simply mirror this hole to the other side. Hitting S for shortcuts, typing MI, selecting mirror. And for the type, it will be features. And that feature is this hole. Activating the mirror plane, left click on this. And selecting our YZ plane. For compute option, let's have this at adjust, selecting OK. And congratulations for completing the phase 1 of this 2011 Model Mania challenge. Thank you so much for reaching up to this point in the video. Inviting you to join us in Facebook. It's Autodesk Fusion 360 User Group Philippines. And in LinkedIn. in, we are Fusion 360 worldwide users. Lastly, support us by subscribing to Autodesk Community Philippines as we train more students and educators into the world of Autodesk. Okay, let's now move forward to phase 2. Let me grab our 2D drawing and inspect the changes. And one of the notable change is this arced surface here. Let's focus on this. Heading back to Fusion 360. And I'm going to head over to our timeline and move our marker before our extrude 2. Next, I'm going to head over to our sketch 2, right click, and let's select edit sketch. Our intent here is to create an arc, and with that arc, we're going to use that to chop off this excess materials. And before we grab our arc tool, we need a reference. So I'm going to hit P for project. And under selection filter, I'm going to enable bodies. Selecting this body. Selecting OK. Let's now hit S for shortcuts. Typing ARC. Selecting 3-point arc. Let me place our first arc not at the midpoint, but just at the intersection. Moving to the other side, left click and left click to simply create the arc. Let's now hit escape. Next, I would like these 2 points horizontal with each other. So I'm going to head up to horizontal of vertical constraint, selecting this point and this point. Let me zoom out to see the center point of this arc, which is this point. I'm going to align this center point with our origin vertically, selecting this point and our origin. Hitting escape, and finally, let's have this arc tangent to this edge. Selecting tangent, selecting this arc and this edge. Hitting escape. Let's now define the radius of this arc. Hitting D, selecting this arc, and for the value, it will be 70. Hitting enter and hitting escape. Let's head over to finish sketch. Moving forward, I'm going to split this body up using split body command. Let's head up to modify, selecting split body. The body to split is our only body. And for the splitting tools, let's turn on the visibility of our sketch 2, activating splitting tools, and selecting this arc. I'm going to enable extend splitting tools and selecting OK. Body split. We have now 2 bodies. And now I'm going to remove this top body. Selecting this body, right click and select remove. Next, let's move 1 step. Selecting next step and inspecting. Let's move 1 step further. Notice we have an error. Let me select our fillet, right click, and let's redefine this feature. Selecting edit feature and selecting this chain of edges. Radius to be 6. Selecting OK. Next, let's move 1 step. to check out the shell. Let's move one step and let's check combine. Moving one step, checking remove. Checking combine. Working. Moving forward, let's focus on creating the cylinders on these faces. And recall, the edges of those cylinders will be having a value same with this fillet too. Let's now head over to our sketch 1 and add that circle. Selecting edit sketch. Hitting C for circle. Let's drop our center point at this center point. The radius to be 28. Creating another circle here. Hitting escape. Selecting this left circle, holding control to select this right circle. Right click and let's have this two circles equal with each other. Hitting escape and let's select finish sketch. Let's head back to our sketch 1 and turn its visibility on. Hit E for extrude. And I'm going to select the circular profile. Pull this arrow up. Change the operation to new body. And for the distance, I prefer changing the extent type to object, which will make our distance up to this point. Now any of these points will do. And later on, as we add the hole, we are going to mirror the cylinder to the other side. Selecting OK. Let's now hit H for hole. And for the placement, selecting at point, hovering over this face, selecting this. Let's head over to top view and snap this blue dot to this white dot. And for the diameter, I'm going to change this 15 to 22. And for extents, I'm going to change this to up to this face. Hole type to be simple, hole tap type simple, and any of the two drill points, may it be at angle, will do. Selecting OK. Inspecting. Next, let's cut this cylindrical body using body 1. Using combine, I'm going to head up to modify and select combine. The target body will be our cylindrical body. Tool bodies to be our body 1. And for the operation, it will be a cut. And I prefer keeping the tools, so I'm going to enable this. Selecting OK. Next, let's remove this excess body, which is body 6. Selecting body 6. Right click and selecting remove. Let's now recombine these two bodies into one. Hitting S for shortcuts, typing C, O, and M, and selecting combine. Target body, any of the two will do. Let's select body 1, tool bodies to be this body 7, operation to be join, and I'm going to disable keep tools. Selecting OK. Our final two feature will be mirror and lastly fillet. Let's unsuppress all of these 4 features. And I prefer deleting fillet and mirror. So holding control and selecting them both, hitting delete. In addition, the holes are already applied and we have no use for hole 2, so I'm going to delete this as well. Let's now grab mirror, hitting S, typing MI, selecting mirror, and for the type, it will be faces. And those faces will be this faces. Activating mirror plane, and that mirror plane will be our YZ plane. Selecting OK. Inspecting. Next, we need to remove this face, and to remove this, it's simply selecting this face and hitting delete. And finally, we can now add the fillets, hitting F, selecting this edges, making sure tangent chain is enabled, and for the radius, it will be 3. Leaving the defaults and selecting OK. And congratulations for completing phase 2. Okay, welcome to the final section of this challenge, which will be simulation. And before we begin, simulation needs the model to be saved in the cloud. So I'm going to hit Control S. Let's name this as 03-sim, selecting save. Next, let's now head over and change workspace to simulation and selecting static stress. Double left click on this. A quick tip: whenever in static stress, it would be best to start out with materials going to the right. Another tip is, notice at solve, we are seeing a red X mark, signifying that the criteria for solving a simulation has not been met yet. Once everything has been fully defined, this will turn into a green check mark. Moving forward, let's now define the material. Selecting this. And in the challenge, it says AISI 1020. Let's head over to Study Materials. Select this drop down. Let's scroll down and search for that AISI. Now we have the two options here. Let's select 107 hot rolled. Selecting OK. Next, let's define the constraints. And it says on the challenge, this two faces needs to be constrained, the type to be fixed, and we are going to enable all axes. Selecting OK. Next, for the loads, we're going to select structural loads, the type to be force, and we are tasked to apply 3,000 newtons on each of these faces. So selecting this target face, magnitude to be 3,000. In addition, make sure that under units, newtons is enabled. Selecting OK. Let's repeat. Applying load, right-click, repeating structural loads, selecting this face for the magnitude, keying in 3,000, selecting OK. And notice, under Solve Pre-Check, we now have a green check mark, which gives us the green light to finally select Solve. Let's now select Solve. Now we have two options here: to conduct the simulation in the cloud or locally. So let's save some cloud credits. I'm going to simulate this locally using my computer's processing power. Selecting Solve. Simulation complete. Notice the actual minimum factor of safety, which is 2.18. In addition, in this window, we have the option to set the safety factor targets in its upper and the lower values. We also have recommendations here to change the design in the weakest area or change the material with higher yield and ultimate strength. The deformation scale can also be adjusted here up in the deformation area. Let me close this window. Once more, for phase 2, this design is marginally correct. In addition, we need to redesign this model to at least reach this green values. Also, in this color bar, I can grab this slider to hone in and reveal the results. Also, in this drop down, we can see the various results for stress, displacement, reaction force, and the strain. Lastly, to visualize the result further, let me change the results to stress, head over to front view, and head to animate. I'm going to select a two-way and hit the play button. And here's the effect of that 6,000 newtons load. The challenge for you now is which of the two, is it phase 1 or phase 2 having the best factor of safety? I'll be leaving that up to you to solve for phase 1. Once more, thanks for joining me in Model Mania 2011 made in Fusion 360.